Machines, the War Machine Halls show where I'm empirically trying to find out whether I can improve my play to do well at tournaments before you guys all jump ship. And tonight I'm covering a special game as an appetizer to issue 80, which will close out Season 4. This one took place at ClogCon in the last round of the doubles tournament. And I reiterate, that is a stupid format. Fiona and I were actually ready to drop out and get back to the hotel early, and so were our opponents, Brum and Sputniek. We all were tired. Fiona and me lost pretty badly twice, and the others had to play against Epic Haley plus something twice, but when the pairings were announced, we were actually that happy to be able to play against each other that we got our acts together and go at it with renewed vigor. It's Team Beer Kamikaze with Colon Commander Zerkova and Gordon Grandback versus Team Doom&Gloom with Magnus the Traitor and Forward Commander Sorsha Kratikov. Point size is 50 with 2 casters. Scenario is outflank. Enjoy! Since Fiona and me won the roll-off, here's our army lineup. Zerkova with the Spriggan, Max Kayazi Assassins with Underboss, Winterguard Mortar Crew, Gorman, Silas, Reinhold. Gordon with a Rock Ram and 2 Gunners, Thor with a Basher and a Blaster and a Cliented Boker, and Gudrun the Wanderer. Sputnik and Comrade Brum played, Magnus with 2 Renegades, a Galleon and Epic Iris, Sorsha with Beast 09, Max unit of Winterguard Infantry with unit attachment and 3 Rocketeers and a Manowar Dracoon with dismount. Team Beer Kamikaze rejoiced! Finally, after facing Haley, Experience and Ossian as well as Chromac and Rask, an enemy where the solid ground Kayazi limousine would actually work. And since we got the first turn, most things run up, and Thor drives his Warjack further forward. My Eliminators run ahead of Fiona's Rock Ram to neuter the Galleon's Harpoon. Gordon puts up solid ground and charges the Rock Ram in the back with the little gutter weapon. Then puts Strength of Granite onto the Rock Ram. Gudrun walks and then drinks himself into a stupor. As for the first turn of Team Doom&Gloom, they also run most of their things up. Magnus sticks snipe on the Galleon, which is the most important part. And then comes the realization that the Galleon 2d3 Armageddon won't exactly work because of solid ground, so the Galleon runs. Sorsha puts Iron Flesh on the Winterguard Infantry after they ran and got told by Joe how tough their forefathers were. Man, Iron Fleshed Winterguard Infantry, what a pain in the arse. Gordon gives 1 to the Rock Ram and 1 each to the Gunners and upkeeps both spells. Zerkova has Watcher upkept by Silas and gives 1 to the Spriggan. Mortar opens with a shot at the Winterguard Infantry that deviated to achieving nothing. Gunners move, powerfully shoot stuff, for example the Dracoon, then Thor goes, tunes up the Gunners to hit rolls and drives his jacks. The Basher, from his new angle, slams into the Dracoon, slams him back into Beast, knocking both of them down, dismounting the Dracoon, follows up, then buys another attack which sadly doesn't take him out. He also flag fields, but the Winterguard Trooper lives through it. The rest doesn't even care. The Blaster fires across the infantry, but sadly the dice almost flatline here and nobody dies. Spriggan runs up. Silas tells Zerkova arcane secrets. Zerkova follows behind, tries to put Icy Grip on the Winterguard infantry, but fails too, then camps and feeds. Of course, trying to put Icy Grip on the Winterguard infantry would be a good measure before the Blaster had fired. Yes, it was very late and that day. I think I shot at the Galleon, but I did not achieve much. Gudrun gets up and moves roughly into Iris Experience's direction. The Kayazi, all of them, charge and take out 3 Winterguard troopers, but more importantly get closer to their casters. Gorman moves and smokes. Would have been more useful on the other side of Gordon, though, I guess. Magnus allocates focus to his Renegades upkeeping for free. Sorsha probably to Beast. First things firsty, she scoots over to Magnus' side and feeds. Then Magnus moves up and feeds. Then Iris Experience moves out of the forest and shoots Gordon, removing solid ground. Afterwards, the Renegade on the left moves, fires his Obliterator rocket at Gordon, boosting to hit and damage, and obliterates both Gorman and Gordon. That was quite a blow to us, since the Rock Ram and both gunners now blue screen. Winterguard infantry moves out of the way to clear room for the galleon, which then fires to clear the hill of Kamikaze and some unfortunate Winterguard infantry. The other renegade wanted to fire, but having to use focus to do so, it doesn't connect and does nothing after deviation. Beast and the Dracoon wreck Thor's jacks. Both of the renegades run further up with the feet turn movement. Magnus stays put. Would have been better off running like a girl, I tell you. Ah, shaky photograph. For shame. Silas upkeeps Watcher. Then Reinhold moves up, gives Lady Z a lucky charm. Silas goes and tells her arcane secrets. The Spriggan moves up a little. Time to solve this the motherland style. Zerkova charges the galleon! Which is, by the way, a very magical phrase that has the effect of making the whole room go silent and everybody turn their heads towards you. At any rate, Lady Z even plings a damage point or two on the machine. The decisive point was Lady Z getting into range to Razorwind Magnus. However, since he was also camping, it took almost all my focus and he was still alive. Well, alive enough for the assassins to deal with him. The underboss pops the mini-feed and the assassins charge headlong into the mass, taking out some Winterguard troopers, stabbing Magnus to death and denting Sorsha a little. Thankfully, this keeps Zerkova way safer than going after Sorsha, because now the galleon beach balls and blocks a lot of line of sight. Thor moves and reactivates a bunny, which nets us bonus points for using a rule that never got used before. Nah, just kidding. The Boker charges the renegade and hammers it. Now it's up to Sorsha to pull that card out of the dirt. Either the charge lane wasn't clear enough, or she was too afraid of Kamikaze freeze strikes, which actually, even with her camping full, are a threat. So she cyclones over to Zerkova, which triggers Watcher. Spriggan moves over, stabs, and misses. Sad face, a stab would have been awesome. Funnily enough, Sorsha burns through all her focus, and Zerkova is still alive. Comrade Brum decides to solve this the motherland style. Kovnik Joe tells the Winterguard infantry to boost their attack rolls and start spraying the frickin' galleon. What's hilarious is that every spray would hit both Zerkova and Sorsha. And the dice really swung in a direction that it appeared as if this approach would kill Sorsha before it would kill Zerkova. The final shot spikes really high, and while Zerkova is taken out, Sorsha is almost killed as well, and merely lives on 2 boxes. Team Doom&Gloom wins! In hindsight, doubles is a weird format, I keep saying that, as in too strange to actually take seriously. Maybe a few rules tweaks can help it, but as it is, no, I'm so not doing this again. For this game, Zerkova clearly was my VIP and Thor was Fiona's. VUPs were the Mortar, who didn't really do much, and the Rock Ram. Gordon, even though he died early, did do something with solid ground. Due to the madness of the format, I'm not even considering thinking about blunders. Changes are equally difficult, but Gordon's list certainly could utilize a reduction in jacks and the inclusion of more infantry. And with that, on to the next part of the program. Alright, it may seem as if the faded black t-shirt is the only secondary content that I have, and for the most part, you know what, it's true. Mostly because I'm a lazy painter. Anyways, this time I'll be taking you through Bonn's Cantina Games 3, or rather the War Machine Team Tournament part, which took place at the end of June. So here's the preamble. Originally, Team Martin Machines consisted of Arias, Fiona and myself. However, Fiona didn't feel up to the task, nothing she's to be blamed for, so we had to find somebody else. We found Kronos. Since his selection of Trollblood models was insufficient for 250 point lists, however, we also had to switch up armies. Zoridas took Signa, Kronos took Kador, and I took Mercenaries. We ended up with Commander Adept Nemo and Captain Darius, Commandant Irusk and the Butcher of Kardov, as well as Magnus the Warlord and Gordon Gruntback. I was worried about our matchups in the beginning because, well, the obviously strongest caster here at Nalakium is Irusk. This could go so wrong on so many levels. Also, there was a betting system very akin to the one from Game of Thrones, which determined who'd go first in putting players to tables and scenarios. In order to avoid panic attacks that'd make things a lot worse, I looked for what else I could leverage to our benefit when it hit me. The way the system works out, we'd always, win or lose, get the scenarios we want. Now to only allocate the castles correctly. And surprise, it worked very well. Very relieving. So, on to round 1. I will, as I did with ClogCon, do highlight recaps. It's way more fun than trying to remember games from a month ago. We're paired up against Team Warcasper, led by Krigsnoob. I was only expecting to face these guys after we had lucked through round 1, and I told him that. They had Captain Bartolo Montador and Ashlyn Delise, High Exemplar Krios and Fiora, Fiora Protector of the Flame, as well as Borka Kegslayer and the Hunter's Grim. It ends up to be Nemo vs Bartolo, Butcher vs Borka, and Epic Magnus vs Krios. As for the other 2 games, Nemo ends up forgetting the kill box in his scenario and is muscled out of the game by Bartolo via scenario, and the Butcher gets jammed out of Outflank by the family reunion due to letting him go first. My highlights were that during deployment I discovered that 60% of my army start off the board or have advanced deployment. Cool, I completely didn't see that. Bottom turn 1 I think I could take Krios down, but while I managed to take the key models out, I figure he's out of range. So the Renegade just shoots his rocket in his general direction, which deviates and kills 2 choir members and a vassal. I'll take that. Note to self, Bad Seas wants to go first. Top of turn 2, I lose next to every trencher model to Krios' feet and zealot bombs and other guns. The rest, however, really pulls their weight. A single commando, the unit attachment sniper and the master gunner to be precise. Flanking sword knights are all kinds of awesome while Magnus feeds. He scores 2 control points first, but I managed to pull even due to the sword knight while Magnus, the sentinel and Saxon hold out against the enemy in their zone. The game goes on till it dies down and he wins an army points surviving tiebreaker. This round our team scored no wins, 2 control points and 45 victory points. In round 2 we're paired against Team Toy Soldiers, the other resident team, led by Kronos' brother. They're bringing Lord Arbiter Hexorus and Tyrant Xerxes, Lilith Shadow of Everblight and Seren Omen of Everblight, as well as Morvana the Dawn Shadow and Kruger the Stormwrath. We end up with Nemo against Hexorus, Butcher vs Lilith and Gorton vs Morvana. Excuse me. This time Nemo manages to pull out the win against Xerxes in Rally Point and the Butcher gets ground down hard in process of elimination. My highlights were I got to face off against Orbotron. At least I would get the chance to test whether the list does what I designed it to do. Since I was made to go first, I'll take the chance and use the brick deployment to mitigate my speed issues. It works out quite nicely even though I think I will need a little more practice with it. And after being set up by a blind bomb, Orbotron goes down to a couple precursors, Forge Guard and a tuned up driller with strength of granite. Right before Gorton's feet shoves models all over the place. But then Morvana is being silly and Gorton gets killed by a support caster that has more flux on her life total than any bank account would ever be tolerated to have. Also, Precursor Knights staying around their flag net me 2 control points, so that our team scores 1 win, 7 control points and 40 victory points this round. For the last round, we're paired against the Team Lightning Wit Hawk Priests, which is an homage to their lineup. Lord Carver, Storm and Drang, Grand Exemplar Krios, the Harbinger of Manoth, Lord Commander Striker and Major Haley. Matchups are Darius vs Carver, Butcher vs Krios and Gorton vs Striker. We hit them hard. Darius kills multiple models, including Carver, himself. Butcher rocket owns Krios by muscling him out of scenario in a single turn in ammunition run. And my highlights? After they had run up, a gunmage shoots Stelina straight in the face and takes her out directly. My opponent forgets his feet and the second shot on Striker's gun, which nets me a free Colossal. I did get to live the dream, and a fully loaded, tuned up Strength of Granite driller went into a Hunter's Marked Stormwall. Had I managed to do the Rust Bomb, I would have also likely pulled off the hat trick of one rounding a Colossal with a driller. This way, I needed Forge Guard support. I kept forgetting tough on my Forge Guard though. And then Striker, after being touched by Gordon's feet, tries the assassination, but the Stormwall's wreck is just too big. The driller gets a round to hit tune-ups and then does very nasty things to Epic Striker. In the final round, our team scored 3 wins, 6 control points and 128 victory points. Our final tally thusly is 4 wins, 15 control points and 213 victory points. This allows us to dodge any special bottom prizes, like least victory points destroyed and so on, and ranks us as the 6th team out of 8, which beats our initial assumption by far, clearly being the team with the least competitive players. Because, you know, practice is for beginners, a sign of insecurity, the mark of the weak. And that's it for today. The event organizer said that given the space, the next Cantina games might have a 5-man tournament. Should that be the case, it'll be interesting to see whether there'll be a reiteration of Team Martin the Machines or a merger of Team Toy Soldiers and Team Martin the Machines members. Because I seriously doubt I'd be able to find another 3 players to back Aridus and me up. As for next issue, we'll be having some more epic Magnus and way more Zerkovar. And being the final issue in the season, something special too. But until then, farewell.